Hello and welcome to the Mod Pod, where we discuss all things moderation and drinking. So today on the show we have Liz Ceppos. She's the owner of Cross Culture Kombucha in Danbury, Connecticut. So welcome, Liz.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So kombucha is like one of my all-time favorite beverages to drink. And actually, if somebody's not really aware of what kombucha is, would you mind explaining it?
Kombucha is a fizzy fermented tea. It's made with culture. It's fermented with a live culture. It has good bacteria in it. People love it for gut health. It's got tartness and sweetness both to it. It's fizzy. It feels like a really actually beautiful celebratory drink when you're not having alcohol.
I love it. It's so good. And the fact that it tastes good, it's refreshing, it has a little bubble to it, and it just kind of hits the spot because it has like a balance of acidity. But then you guys add now tell me about how you incorporate the different flavors into the kombucha.
With kombucha, you could do virtually any kind of flavor that you want. So you could start with a green tea, a black tea, a blend of teas and herbal teas as well. And then there's all types of fruits or herbs to make amazing flavors. So we have a lot of flavors that are tea forward, right? Like the jasmine, original green, black and white. And then we also have flavors that are more fruit forward. We even have some that we add hops to. So it gives it tastes like a beer.
One here today. I have the hopped peach one. With me, so we'll have to show that.
Yeah, so you can have a bitter bite to your kombucha, or you could even have something sweet or more like a tea that you'd be, an Earl Grey. So there's a wide range. It's one of the things we love about kombucha is that you could do so much with it.
Yeah. And then you rotate the flavors, right? Sometimes seasonally.
Yep.
And what's so nice about your flavors is it's the essence of the flavor without overpowering like the delicate flavor of the kombucha.
So we choose to infuse the fruits instead of just adding like a juice concentrate to it. So that does two things. It keeps the sugar a little lower and it doesn't make it too juicy.
Right.
Because sometimes, you'll have a kombucha from the store and it tastes too sweet or too much like a juice. And it's like, no, we want that tang of kombucha. It has a little bit of funk to it, you know what I mean? But not have it be super sweet. So that's one way of doing that, and it keeps the sugar down too.
Yeah, and I find that yours are very well balanced as well. Like I would say they're the burgundy of kombucha, which means if you're like not a wine person, which most people wouldn't know that reference, they're sort of elegant and understated and like very elevated. They're not like in your face, like they're like, oh, very classy.
That's so nice to say.
Really
I'm like, I don't know what burgundy means in this sense, but now you just told me, and it's a compliment. Yeah. It's I think it's beautiful any way you have it, and honestly, depending on your mood, you can have one that tastes like a beer, or tastes like a wine, or tastes like a cocktail. Like you really can have really nice different flavors. It's not, and for somebody who's trying to drink things that are better for them, and they have go-tos that aren't just like water. It feels good. So sparkling water, plain water, water with lemon, water with lime. I mean, what do you do, right?
I know.
You need other options.
So now, what is your journey, as it relates to, kombucha and how you started, and, your husband is also involved in the company. So what was your sort of journey getting into the business?
We got into it. My husband was obsessed with kombucha. And he wanted to, once he found out that you could make it at home, he was going nuts making it at home. This was around 2016. And around that time, I lost my job. So I was in a position that I was like, what am I going to do? I go back to working for other people. What do I do? And I was not loving the selection I had in my industries that I had worked in. So he started kind of saying, and it was almost half joking, we should have our own kombucha company. Like, we should make kombucha. There's no one locally doing it. We both had this vision that you can like go to a bar and get it on draft. And there was nothing like that anywhere, right? Yeah. He was sober. So this was like for him an amazing drink that we would bring to parties, like to barbecues, whatever, and have, in that social setting. And it just made him feel so much like more comfortable.
Like having something in hand that's not clear water or even like a Coke or something, it's, you know, now that I've personally stepped back from drinking, you have to have something, like, especially if you're like really trying to substitute.
And you don't want a kid's drink. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want a
you
juice
wanna-
box.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like a juice box.
You think of summer barbecues and people have juice
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
And some sodas maybe, and some water bottles.
Exactly.
You know,
Those
and
are
then
the
it's
three.
all alcohol.
Soda, water bottle, box juice.
So we saw this vision of, oh, maybe we could do this. And so because I was out of a job, I was like, I started researching. I started writing a business plan. I got an advisor through like Small Business Administration, Small Business Development Center of Connecticut, something like that. I just started writing things out and kind of thinking through it. Then we both did that together, and that was like, I developed the LLC like in January 2017, and then by April we had found a space because we needed a commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
We had found a space, and it was a really lucky space that we got, and we were licensed by early May.
That's pretty quick. That's incredible. So from there, I mean, I remember I believe that was your initial space that I had seen. You've had 2 spaces, correct?
I had 3.
Oh, you have had 3. Okay.
So actually, not far from here, there's an office building with a like cafeteria kind of space in there, and they left every day at like 2:00.
Oh.
So we knew that they had another space, that tenant had another space somewhere else. So we were able to actually get permission from the landlord and that tenant to go in and use that space, that commercial kitchen, weekends and afternoons, like afternoon to night and weekends. So that's when we got started. We would go to this space. We had just a little bit of room there. Like it was, I don't know, maybe it was like 8 by 6 or something. It was a small area where we put our tanks, right? And then we had, but the sinks and like everything we needed was there.
We need to be legit,
It was tricky though.
Yeah.
We had to like go get, the filtered water, like the reverse osmosis water I had to go pick up from Culligan. Like it's bananas, 5 gallon, I'm carrying that into the space because we didn't have filtration system there.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like a lot of inconveniences, but it cost us pretty much nothing. Like they were just generous.
Wow.
So we were able to use this space, and it was very clear after a few months that we were getting so much traction that we needed more room.
Wow. How did you advertise initially? Or did you? Those early days, how were people finding you?
Farmers markets.
Okay, so you were doing farmers markets kind of from the beginning.
Yeah,
okay.
We got into Fairfield, right? Yeah, that first summer, and it did great. People really responded well to it, and we didn't have great packaging. Like we had been doing draft cups, and we had the brown bottles that we still use, but the labels and things were different. But we just really started at the farmers market and those 2 cafes in Danbury. And from the farmers market, we would ask the customers, like, where do you shop? What do you like, And we started going to those stores and seeing if we could place it. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. And so you've been going and growing, and now you have the big tap room with the bottles, and in the back I've taken a tour. It has, you have like huge tanks now. So like
we got big tanks.
It's really incredible. So congratulations.
Yeah, I tell people it's just like a beer brewery. It's so much of the end, or a wine, where they make wine, it's the same equipment. Yeah, it's a lot of the same stuff.
And there's tasting. You can go in and taste all the flavors, which is a lot of fun when I come and I taste everything.
So it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Always moving liquids around.
Yes.
That's that's really what we're doing. We're brewing it, letting it sit for a while, and then taking it out when it's just right. And then sometimes there's more steps with flavoring. But
So, all right, so this podcast is all about moderation. And when I was really heavily moderating, I've been drinking your kombucha for a long time, but I really started buying more kombucha because if it was that 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock time frame, and I was like, ooh, wine would be great now, but you know what else would be great? Kombucha, because it's fresh, it's acidic, it's bubbly, like it's got that, if I would have gone for a glass of a white wine, it has a lot of the same characteristics, right? It has acidity, it has bubble, it has a little bit of fruitiness to it, depending on the flavor. So it was an awesome replacement for me, and it definitely helped me kind of bridge that gap in those times where I was like, oh I don't have the wine, Jillian. So now, has kombucha like helped you at all, like in your drinking
Huge.
alcohol journey?
Yeah, oh, huge. So my husband's been sober 15 years now. And when we got started, he was sober and I wasn't. And so I've been thinking about not drinking for many years because my partner doesn't, right? But, and I had my own kind of struggles with it. So I was functioning just fine, but I felt like garbage. I would feel like garbage in the mornings. My body was not handling, like I enjoyed having some wine, but my body was not handling it very well. And then I just kind of had done so much reading, and in the space that I'm in, I just was learning so much about what it does to your body and, and listening to how great on the other side of sobriety people feel, and seeing my own husband's successes with so many different things because of the sobriety that I have been thinking about it for so many years. And I would say I was thinking about moderating or quitting completely for many years before I did. Finally, I think I just felt like garbage enough to say, like, why am I actually still doing this? Because I had a hard time with having one or having two. It was like all or none.
That is so common.
All or none.
And that was definitely me. Like, for me, was hard. I would rarely just have one glass, and I would feel funny if I did. Like, there was something where I needed, I guess it was a tolerance thing or some sort of addictive quality of the alcohol. And then once I would free myself, it really only took a few, honestly, and I don't want to say this, but because I don't think it would apply to everybody, but for me, it really just took like a very short period of time being away from it for my body to just catch up and be like, oh, you're good. So I was able to moderate, but, and I think a lot of people can, but there's also people who, whatever they choose not to, or maybe they should really quit completely, depending on the person.
I would say it took up so much brain space. The amount I was thinking about it, like, am I going to drink tonight? Okay, how much? And like negotiating with myself. And then thinking about when am I going to go to the store and get more? When I'm going to have, like, am I going to put the kids to bed and then, or do I, wait, do I have to drive tonight? Okay, like the negotiating with it took so much mental energy. And I didn't actually realize how much it took up until I was really done. And I got like through kind of those first few hard weeks because it was an adjustment for me. And then I felt like, wow, I'm not, like, my mind feels so much clearer because I'm not preoccupied with it. Because probably I've been negotiating on how much I'm drinking like for several years before I said finally, like, I'm done. I'm quitting. And the day that I quit was the day after a wedding. I was horribly hungover. I felt like crap. I had been following a lot of sober Instagram accounts. So I had just all these little nuggets already kind of floating around in my brain. And there was some program that some of them offer, right? So there was one of them, and I don't even
I was going to say, if you remember any of them.
I don't even think it exists anymore. I feel like it was Soul Sister or something. I don't even know. But I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm going to, sorry if I curse. Like, oh, you know what? $300, I'm going to just do this. And I felt so, like, adamant. Ian was working farmer's market that morning, and I sent him a text, and I was like, I'm quitting drinking. I'm really serious, and I'm done. I'm tired of feeling like crap. And I bought a program, and anyways, I'm doing this. And I didn't know what his reaction would be, because I felt like he might think, and he did tell me this years later, that, well, you can't do that if you're not going to AA.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But AA is not the only way to get sober, right?
Very true. Very true.
So I started this little program, and it gave like a lot of steps those first like few weeks, especially, because that was hard the first few weeks. Because I think in my mind I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this. It's going to be forever. And that was overwhelming, but it allowed me to tap into a community and like vent and bitch to a Facebook
When you
group
need
than
it
to
to.
say,
Yeah,
yes,
you
I
have
want
that
to punch
support.
everyone and I'm irritable and, you know, and finding ways of doing things and journaling and writing out so much stuff. So yeah, I kind of came about it that way. And I kept with that group. I don't know, maybe it was a month or 2 months. And then I started to feel more actually at ease and comfortable with like getting through the day to day. But yeah, I was drinking a good amount each week.
Yeah.
I was functioning during the day, so I was like, oh, you know,
Right.
I see everybody else doing it. What a childish thing to think, but like, oh, you know, I know it's bad for me, but come on, you know.
I know. That's how same thing. I was just doing it thinking that people who didn't drink were like boring, weird, had a problem. That's messed up,
that's,
but you know
I
what I'm
think that's
saying?
made it hard in the beginning because
you don't want
to be, your
stigmatized
identity doesn't, your identity is like, oh my God, now I'm the problem person.
Yeah.
And I think we're just always told, we somehow believe that if you're labeled an alcoholic and you stop drinking because you're an alcoholic, then that means like you're in the gutter. You've lost your family or you have a pile of DUIs. And, where it's like, no, that's not the case. It's just an addictive substance. And some people, like, it's not hard to get to become an addict. So yeah, so I got away from it. That's been over 5 years now. It's like, not quite 5.5 years, but yeah, over 5 years now that I've stopped. And I started feeling this way within 6 months. I was like, oh, I should have done this so much earlier. Because now it's just not part of the equation. It's actually like easier.
It's so much easier.
I don't think about it.
You don't think about it right at this point. And the mental space of the cycle of being so excited to have the drink, right? For me, mostly it was the wine, like looking forward to the weekend because I knew I'd be maybe hanging out with friends or, you know, over here even just having wine by the fire and like thinking that was such like an amazing sensory experience, which, okay, sure. But like, what's the point of it actually is the physical effect, right? Was really deep down the point of it. Which is
so short-lived.
Yeah. And then there's the cycle of guilt, regret, actually just physically feeling terrible, lack of sleep, no motivation. Now I'm able to get up before the sun to do exercising, which if you knew Jillian even a year ago, like unheard of. This was not my personality type. And now I'm literally doing things that I was extremely envious that other people could do, but that was not me.
That's so
and
good.
Now that I don't drink, or I drink very rarely on occasion, you know, once in a while, I can do all of these things and I have these larger goals and I'm meeting my short-term goals because I am putting more like work in my days, right? So I'm just a more efficient person overall, but it's amazing. So but how long did we actually think about making this change? It took a while.
I thought that for so many years. I read, I don't know, maybe 8 books on it. Like I read a lot. I listened to podcasts. I was like putting myself there, but I just couldn't commit. That was so scary.
No, I know.
I think I just spent a lot of time thinking, but you know, my niece is getting married and I don't want to not have champagne or, you know,
like you're missing out.
What if I'm getting together with my girlfriends and this is what we do? Like, there was a lot of those feelings. That was the scary part. I was like, oh, and then people are gonna be like, why are you not drinking? And just answering that question just felt like, oh, am I announcing my problems? So that was really hard. But, you know, when it really comes right down to it, it's like, well, does it really matter why somebody chooses not to drink?
It doesn't.
You know, especially knowing all the downsides to having it.
Yeah, and the Surgeon General warning. That's
finally.
Like, yes.
Finally, because it's actually shocking that it hasn't happened so much sooner, that there was warnings on alcohol It's only there for what? For heavy machinery and pregnancy,
Pregnancy, yeah.
which is like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of other. Oh, it's nuts. But
So you and I are both like big mocktail people, or shall we say, cocktails without alcohol.
yeah. Well, whatever. I'm okay with the word mocktail. I know why some people hate it, but the word mocktail.
It's just a very quick way to get the point across.
Yes, it is.
And I, it's efficient as a word.
It's an efficient word.
But I understand.
Versus non-alcoholic cocktail, which makes people just
it's just
think
very,
too
very
long.
very long. So yeah, we're big fans. So at the brewery, you do have some products available aside from kombucha that are alcohol free. So you have some wines and some spirits and some ready to drinks. I think you still have, and some things that are kind of just their own thing, right? Which is kind of fun. Yeah, so we don't really know, what are we calling those these days? I don't even have a word for them.
The functional ones?
Yeah,
just
they're
like functional. I just call them the functional spirits, I guess. Functional spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all non-alcoholic spirits. But yeah, I think I call them just or the botanical ones too. But I'll say functional a lot.
Yeah, the functionals. So we have a lot of fun with those. And can you give me like one of your favorites that combines kombucha with something else that's interesting?
There's one of the functional ones is called 3 Spirit, and it is phenomenal. And they've got a few variations. There's one called Nightcap, and there's one called Livener. And then there's Social Elixir, and Nightcap is like my favorite. Really? It is so great. It has ashwagandha. It's got some other plenty of botanicals and herbs, but it's like concentrated in a way that it has a very, I don't know how to describe the taste, woodsy, herbal, and with, it could be like a little bit of ginger kombucha is so nice in there with a little squeeze of orange or something, and you just have this drink and it's like calming. It's so nice. So that's one I love. The Livener has things that would be more uplifting. I want to say it's like Sisandra. I can't say the word, but Sisandra is one of those herbs. Yes. And there's I can't remember the ingredients, but that's another one that's really nice. And Drome is the other one.
Oh, I haven't even heard of this.
Dromme.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Like really full of flavor, but not trying to be anything else. So
is the Drome basically they have like one flagship product, or
they have two drinks. One has like a little bit more spice and warmth. The other one's more like a vegetable almost essence to it.
That's interesting.
It sounds
is it like
a
V8?
Weird, but not like a V8. It's very tasty. One is called Wake and one is called Calm, and it's not trying to be anything else. So it's not like it's trying to taste like a whiskey or something, right? It is its own thing, but it has so much flavor, and really with either of those, throw a little ginger beer in or ginger ale if you don't have kombucha, or seltzer, and like give it a little garnish, and it's fantastic. And it's got the functional ingredients too. Nice. It brings, so the hot ones has like Szechuan peppers maybe.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah,
the Awake is really nice because it's got some spice to it. So Nightcap and Drome are like my 2 favorite of the functional ones. Okay.
So, and just so if people are still learning what functional is, functional products and beverages usually have an herbal element or some sort of mushroom element that actually has a benefit to the body or to, I guess, the mind. I don't know.
I think so. I think like adaptogenic ingredients. So where your body kind of needs it, right? Yeah. And so it's those, and now of course all the names are gonna escape me. So like reishi or ashwagandha or lemon balm or lavender even is can be thought of that if you think of lavender or chamomile. Like we might not think that adaptogen has been part of our lives all the time, but they have. Like we've used them.
Yeah, for stress reducers.
For stress reducers, So, so there's, they're chock full of them. They're so tasty too, because you just have to go in knowing like, oh, this is different. This is not going to be like, but it is elevated enough of a taste. It feels sophisticated enough, I would say, that you're not having a Shirley Temple, right? Like, it is so complex, and like layered that you can really, have it and enjoy it like this is an adult beverage.
Right. So if you're a person who enjoyed a really nice glass of wine or an elevated cocktail, and you are making this switch, you don't feel like the flavors are now all of a sudden falling flat. Like you feel like, you know what, this is something I could ponder or enjoy
Like
either on its
on.
own.
Yeah,
like as its own thing. And I think one of the hardest things initially, if you're really just coming right off of alcohol, is you miss like that heat and that spiciness of alcohol in the body.
The little burn.
Right, the little burn. And some of these actually do provide that. They incorporate capsaicin in their ingredients to give a little bit of heat, and other things I've experienced. So there are some that replicate that, but I have definitely noticed the further I am away from alcohol, the less I miss that. Like I'm able to evaluate one of these non-alcoholic drinks on its own, not just as a comparison. Oh, does it taste like, a rum and Coke? Not that I was drinking that. Does it taste like an old fashioned? No, but it's its own thing. It's a new fashioned.
Yes, and you know what I have to say, because I never drank old fashions before, but I make old fashions with a whiskey called 74, Spiritless 74.
Okay.
And it is delicious. And I just follow the recipe on the website, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. I can have this. I don't feel like I'm missing the alcohol. I feel actually really good when I'm having one of these drinks, because I just feel like it's reinforcing a good decision.
The upside of not having it is so much better now that you've had some distance, right? Like I know I'll never go back to where I used to be, because it's just not worth it, and I don't have the desire anymore. And like I'm only just looking forward at this point. So it's liberating, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so. 5 years removed, I still have moments that I feel a little like that craving hits because of the situation I'm in. So it, I guess, triggered is what I'm saying. But where I'm in a situation where I'm just like, oh, I do want to hold that. Like I do want to sip on something, and I have to, step away or remind myself, or do, it's really just like a very short-lived thing, but it always happens kind of these times that are a little inconvenient, right? I'm like, ooh, I need to pull myself back together and like not focus on that. It still happens, and I think it's remembering that little euphoria that happens, for that short period of time, 20 minutes. Yeah. Have you read The Naked Mind? It's fantastic.
Okay. I'll put it on the list.
It'll give you the physiological, it'll break that down, the information and so the 20 minutes thing is like a proven thing.
Really? And that's why you need another one.
Yeah, you're trying to recreate that again. So it's really eye-opening. That book was great.
Oh, well, thank you, Liz. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you.
I'm going to pick up all your tips on the book, and then I'm going to try a few of these non-alcoholic spirits and things, because I've been tasting them and sharing a lot of the wines with the world on my Instagram account, which is Mod Drinks. But there's so many that like either I don't have access to, or I just don't have the time or the budget. So recommendations are fantastic.
So we're going to do some tastings coming up soon at the tap room. So we have some of those bottles open, and we'll just pour it or make like little cups with, the spirit and a little kombucha. So you get that taste of what it is.
Yeah, it's good, because you know what? Some of these things, they're the equivalent price of a bottle of something with alcohol, right? They're not cheaper because they don't have alcohol. They take just as much effort and energy, and sometimes more so. So it can be a bit of an investment, and then if you get something and you don't like it, you kind of feel like, oh man, I just wasted a lot of money. So I think definitely to have a little chance, to taste, try before you buy is awesome.
Yeah,
nice,
definitely, because the bottles are, they're not way less expensive.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Liz. I'll be coming in soon for kombucha.
Thanks.
And definitely, if you guys are local, check out Cross Culture Kombucha in Danbury. All right. Ciao. Cheers.